Hello and welcome to pmclounge.com. Today we are talking about enterprise environmental factors, also known as EEF. Now, even if you have done only preliminary studies for your PMP exam, you would have already heard about EEF or read about EEF and the other thing, OPA. Why so? We'll talk about it in the slides to come. But yes, let's talk about enterprise environmental factors. If you don't want to talk about it and if you would rather read about it, then first link in the description is going to take you to an article on this topic over at our official website pmclounge.com, so you can check that out. Also, second link is going to be a playlist of all the videos that we have done on integration management knowledge area. So check that out. Two links, very important. Okay, before we start, I'd quickly like to remind you to hit that like button on this video because that seems to be the only way YouTube is going to notify you in the future every time we upload new videos. So do hit that like button, appreciate it. So EEF and OPA, enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. These are two inputs that you're going to see time and again in several processes that you're going to study for your PMP exam. And that is the reason why these seem to be common concepts across all knowledge areas. So it is important to know about them. Now, loosely defined, EEF is anything that you should know about the way your organization does business. So first day in your office, what all things should you know about the way your organization operates? That is EEF. That's a loose definition. We'll talk more about EEF in the coming slides. So to think of it, there is a lot of information about your company or your organization that is going to come in handy when you plan your project. Like I said, imagine it is your first day in your company today and you are going to be planning a project soon. What all should you know? And EEF are basically factors that you should know of when you are planning for your project. Now, some of the things that you should know are how each of the different departments within your organization operate. Are there certain departments that are maybe not that helpful? Are there certain departments that basically operate in a different time zone? All these are the kind of stuff that you should know, and these are part of EEF. The market conditions, how is your company doing in the market today? Is your company able to, let's say, raise credit if you want to take up an expensive project, right? The company's overall strategy. If the company is, let's say, focusing on cloud based products and you come up with a great idea for a product which is not cloud based, do you think your company is going to be investing money in it? Not likely, right? So any policies that you need to adhere to when you're doing your project, right? What are the policies? Let's say GDPR, your company's culture, and everything else that you should know about the people you work with in general. How are the people that you work with in general, right? How is your development manager like? What are the things he or she likes? Stuff like that. These all comprises of the EEF or enterprise environmental factors. Some tangible examples of EEF are project management information system and work authorization system. Typically, these are two softwares that companies build internally and they use it to track their projects. They use it to assign work to different physical as well as team resources within the project. So these are tangible examples of EEF. Whatever we discussed in point number 2 were mostly intangible examples of EEF. A quick reminder, if you are someone who is not a project manager and you want to enter the domain of project management, we have a free training for it. It's over at pmclounge.com/pm for non-PM. Project management for non-project managers. 6 chapters, 6 videos. Check it out. So there are some other examples of EEF that you should be aware of. People, market, databases, standards, and risk tolerance. We will go over each one of these in the coming slides, and these are important examples, so do stick around. Now, it is important to understand when we say people, we actually mean all the skill set of the people working in your company, as well as the overall organizational culture, which is, of course, heavily defined by the people that work in your company. If you see in the picture here, you see something which is known as open culture. If people in your office work like this, obviously you have open culture in your organization. Anyone can speak to anyone at any time. People tend to be more creative if they work in such an environment. People tend to brainstorm a lot, and this is something that open culture basically represents. But this could also be just a meeting room, right? This could only be a meeting room, and people after this meeting go back to their desks, which is the usual culture in several companies out there. So the overall organizational culture also matter, and this is one of the most important environmental factors, and it is going to have an impact on the way you plan and deliver your projects. So market, we touched upon it a bit in the beginning itself. It basically means how your company is performing in the market. It can include the share price of your company's stock as well, but obviously it can also include how the shareholders and the market looks at your company in general. Will your company be able to sell stuff? Do customers trust your company? Do bankers and people who can give credit to your company for your future projects, do they trust your company enough, right? How is your company standing amongst your the peers, the competitors of your company? So all that comes under the factor which is known as market. Now, when you read databases, you should not think about Oracle and SQL, because this does not really mean the technology that your company uses to deliver the projects. What it signifies is something that is more strategic. Specifically, where does your company store its own data and the data generated from the customers? So if you, let's say, are working in a software company and your company sells software, and that software collects certain data from the customers, where is that data being stored? And you are a software company, your company generates internal data also, right? And your company may have operations in several countries. So this internal data of your company, where is that being stored? Stuff like that also are part of enterprise environmental factors, because there are regulations like GDPR, and they have been getting a lot of attention, and that is why factors like databases can make a big impact on project related decisions, right? So it is very important to consider databases when it comes to planning your projects and delivering them. Standards, and as you can see, rules and regulations. You can think about global standards, you can also think about government standards and how they can impact your project. If you are, let's say, a company that deals in oil, production of oil, or extraction of petroleum from oil, stuff like that, and you are based somewhere in the Middle East, there could be certain regulations, there could be certain governmental standards that you need to follow. And let's say if your company depends on certain government standards to operate, just like the example that we talked about, if there is a change in those standards, that could be very critical and that could have a major impact on your project. Finally, let's talk about risk tolerance. And the funny image here tries to explain what risk tolerance is. As a project manager, you will have your own risk tolerance level as well. For example, let's say your project is going live in 2 weeks. Today, you are facing an issue which is not really a must fix issue. You can fix it, you can avoid it as well. But if you want to fix it, it has a certain risk on your go live date, which is 2 weeks from now. Now, if you are someone who is absolutely risk averse, you are not going to take that fix in. You don't want to fix that issue since it is not a must fix and the project can still go out without fixing that issue. But let's say you are someone who seeks risks and you are someone who wants to take a calculated risk, then you can take that risk, you can take that fix in and you can fix it and then go live and try to meet the proposed or the targeted date that you had. Similarly, companies will also have certain risk tolerance level. Let's take an example of Apple. Apple introduced the iPhone. When Apple introduced iPhone, all phones basically looked alike. They were a screen and physical keyboard. But Apple introduced the iPhone and it was all touchscreen. The keyboard was actually missing. And that was a risk that Apple took. That says something about the company. That says how the company is okay in taking high risk as well. They have a high risk tolerance. But other companies that were producing the same type of phones over and over again, a screen and a physical keyboard, those phones, those companies, I would say, were risk averse and they were not, or maybe less innovative as well, but they were not able to take the risks that Apple actually did. It is also important to know that EEF is not one document. I hope that is obvious by now that EEF is not a single document. It is not a project management plan, right? These are factors, and factors could be many. We just looked at some of the examples, and these factors, they define the environment of your enterprise. Question for this video: what is the one EEF that you most commonly use on your projects? Let me know in the comments. Definitely looking forward to your answers. And that's all that we had in this video. I hope you were able to understand the concept of enterprise environmental factors. Smash that like button if you got value out of it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified every time we upload new videos. Also, don't forget to check out our website pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP resource. Thank you.